Welcome back to our DNA, episode 18, almost at 20. I'm Brandon
Sir,
Duplessis. We have Philip Price and always David Medina. How you boys doing?
Doing great. Doing great.
staying blessed.
Staying blessed.
Amen.
Amen. I'm right with you. Yep.
Love it.
I'm right
That's what
with
it's
you.
about. In
Yes,
all
yes. And,
things,
and
good and
grateful.
bad.
And
Yes,
grateful.
sir.
It could be worse.
Always, always.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend today, and I wasn't complaining, but I was just talking about my situation at work and kind of where I
Mhm.
was, where I finished for the month and that type of thing.
Yeah.
And in his industry, where I finished, like their top producer had finished in his company. Like he was the
Wow.
man, like number one. And I was like, and it put that in perspective. Like, we always compare up, right? We always
Yeah.
think of what someone above us may have, but you don't compare backwards sometimes or below.
Yep.
And it definitely humbled me for a second and just made me feel grateful that I was where I was at, just in
That's
general.
awesome.
Like, could be more, could be
Amen.
less, but I'm thankful. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
What's new
awesome,
with you
though.
guys?
Just work for me. I've really enjoyed that.
That's good.
We're having great success with it. So it's been a lot of fun. hmm
Yeah. You
hmm
know, one thing that's new with me is I got my book published and I've been actually promoting it at events. It's been a lot of fun. I've sold a lot of copies. I've sold
Oh,
like, I don't know, like a third of what I bought, like physical copies,
Wow.
and I've
awesome.
sold some online. So I think I've already made my money back, like investment wise. So that's nice.
That's awesome.
Dang,
That's
Yeah.
that's
amazing.
when
And
you
I
can.
had my first book reading. It was a lot of fun.
How'd that
Wow.
go?
Yeah, it happened yesterday. I had basically, because I didn't want to just read the whole hour, I figured
Right.
I give three other writers slash authors, like time. Wait, real quick, Philip, I think your mic's still doing that thing. If you can fix that somehow.
Is that
There we
better?
go. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's better. Essentially, I had three other authors come and perform as well. They shared their books, they got book sales. So we were just all like enjoying our performances and all being able to sell our books. Obviously, it was for my event, so I had a little bit more time to speak and I was able to sell a lot more copies. I just wish I brought more. I didn't even know. I literally brought like less than 10.
Wow.
Yeah, I did not realize I was going to
So,
sell out.
what's your book going for? What's the price on your book?
It's $20 on Amazon and in person. Yeah.
Okay.
Do we
So,
have a link on?
Yeah, I could
yes,
put the link down below.
yes, please
Check the
do.
link
Yes, and
down
I'll send you
below.
guys separately the link if you guys are interested.
Yeah,
Of
I could
course.
send it separate
Thank
'cause
you.
I'd like to buy a copy. Yes.
Awesome. I'd appreciate that. Yeah,
Yeah, no problem.
definitely excited to do it more often. And I have a book signing this Saturday, so I just booked and busy. I'm blessed.
Amen.
So,
That's where it starts. That's how it all starts.
yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So that was your first one, first reading, or first
That
reading
was
of
my
this
first time.
book? Okay.
So this is my first ever book reading event, so that was cool. I've never actually been to one myself. I kind of just oriented around what I thought would be a book reading, and
Right.
I figured I'd also sign books there, so it was a special moment for me because a lot of friends came, and I sold out my books, so that was nice. But in general, yeah, it was
That's
the
dope.
first time officially like having an event just for that. I mean, obviously, I've had my events and I've performed my stuff that is in this book, but this is the first time I've physically been able to go on the stage and talk for more than like 6 minutes and like be able to read and like have them enjoy the reading, and they were laughing because I like to add a little bit of humor into my writing, so it was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
Hmm.
So where'd you do it at?
The Guitar
Uh,
Merchant, like I
that's
do
what I
most of
thought.
my events. Yeah, it's
Good.
easy and they love me there, so they hook it up. They don't charge me too much or anything like that. So
It's a good venue too. It's a
it's a
good
great
venue to
venue
do things
for what
at.
we're doing. Hmm.
Yeah. So congratulations on that, by the way.
Thank
That's
you.
super awesome. That's dope that you did it. And I love the fact that, for everybody who thinks they have to know exactly how to get things done, sometimes you
Hmm.
just have to go forward and go do it, right? Like you've
Yep.
never done a book signing before or a reading, but you put it
Hmm.
together and you just did it, right? And then
Exactly.
you build on that from there over and over
Yep.
again.
Yep.
That's dope.
Exactly. And they're
So,
already telling me we should do it again sometime soon. And I'm like, all right, well let's do some more. Throw in. I know a bunch of authors since I've been doing all this creative stuff lately, and I just keep meeting new ones. So I mean, all it takes is a few good ones, and we'll have a packed show.
Yeah. Well, you start meeting more and more people as you
Mm-hmm.
dive into your craft, right? Like I know a lot of basketball players.
Yeah.
probably because
Yeah.
I played basketball, right? And
Fair enough.
as you get into writing and pursuing your passion, you're gonna just bring more people that are attracted to that.
True.
Right?
Love that.
Awesome.
What do you think about that, Philip?
First of all, I think it's great that you went forward with your book. I think that's great. You know, we all got stories to tell, but sometimes we don't take the time to put it on paper, and you did. And
Right.
is it poetry? Is it poetry?
Yeah, so it's a collection of poetry, short stories, and
stories.
a little cut of like my actual novel that I'm trying to pitch. So
Okay.
it's independent, so I can do whatever the hell I want with it. And I called
It's
it
yours.
Storyteller. I even have that tatted on my arm. Storyteller. You can't see
Nice.
it really well, but yeah.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
So is it from life experiences or fictional?
Most of the stories are life experiences, twisted obviously because it's all fiction, but also like projects I had in school when I was in college. I was studying creative writing and communications, so a lot of it's inspired by like real things or real people that I've been around, and yeah, it's just lots of fun. Some of it more, I'd say it's focused on more like mental health because I definitely struggled with my mental health growing up, and that's a lot of the inspiration for this book.
I don't think it's just you. I think a lot of young people struggle with mental health. I know there was a time in my life I struggled with that because when you're like, I was in the ghetto, but I had dreams that were bigger. And sometimes I think the mental thing used to wear on me. I mean, I'd be so enthused about these dreams, but they were so far from reality that sometimes you know, people had labeled me as crazy, and I thought I was, to be honest with you, because when you're telling your story to people that don't have the vision to see it, a
You
lot
are
of times they look
alone.
at you.
They don't believe in it.
Well, because I was a guy, as a kid, I can just remember I was such a dreamer, man. I was not a good student because I'd be in class and daydreaming about dreams. But I would tell everybody my dreams, and you know, everybody called me crazy. And my older cousin was the one that protected me. He was always like, "Phil, they just jealous because you have dreams, and you just can't let them kill it." And so he's always been like a big brother that had helped me through all that.
That's
But
awesome.
I think a lot of young people struggle with that, especially today, because so many people are unhappy. I think that's the problem. They want to be rich because they think rich is going to make them happy.
Yeah.
I don't think rich by itself makes you happy.
That's solid.
Well, a certain unhappiness
funny
comes from. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
Oh, I was just going to say something quick. It's funny that you say all that because as a kid, I struggled in school because of that same exact reason. I was too busy with my head in the clouds thinking about the things I want to do and what I'm going to do and like having these big old dreams, like being like an author. That idea has always been in my head ever since I was a young kid, and I've just been obsessed with that idea. So now that I'm actually starting to go up those steps, it's really nice to see like who I am now, you know?
You become.
Well, I was that kid, man. I didn't, you know, and you got to think this was in the 60s.
Yeah.
When it wasn't as easy. You know, if I look at my uncles and my relatives, they were just good people that worked a labor's job. So here I'm talking about owning businesses, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to be this. I mean, I could see where here is this, you know, 10, 11-year-old kid. I mean, what the hell is he on, you know? Now, when you're living in a modest house on 75th Avenue, you know, and you're talking about all these big things you're going to do.
And people can feel like a disrespect from that too, because if they don't have that vision and maybe don't even have that life that you're talking about, it almost makes them feel disrespected or like put down about what they have as if it's not enough, which makes them want to dim your light, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I figured that out later, but as a young kid, I didn't figure it out in the beginning. You know what I mean? Because
how are you supposed to know?
well, and you think people would be in your mind. You think they'd be enthused and excited about what you're talking about because it's a dream, But
Mm-hmm.
when they have no vision of, and the hardest thing I had to do was divorce my friends. And I had to do that in the 80s. I grew up with these people, but they had no vision. And just because you grew up in an environment and you meet people, that don't necessarily sometimes equate that this is who I'm gonna be around the rest of my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're in their 70s and still doing some of the same stuff they used to do. So to me, that is beyond crazy.
Well, they just
You know?
maybe are not on the same journey with you, and it's like you
Mm-hmm.
sometimes want the people to be on your journey with you, but not everybody is equipped for it, wants to, and that's the hard part, because you get stuck. Like you said, you imagine something else happening, right? And as that doesn't unplay, it could kind of take you away from your dream, maybe, or make you deter from it. But if you have the right support, like your cousin, you have the right determination, and the right people will stay with you. The rest will kind of
Well,
dwindle away.
but like my cousin was one that he always believed in me because when I would tell him the things I wanted to do, he didn't like poo-poo it, even though he was 3 years older than me. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, but
Just good. He probably, he wants, like, even as parents, like, I may tell my kids to do something that I'm not doing myself right now because I hope and I pray and I dream big for them, right? And my mom passed in 2017, so it's been 8 years now. And when I did her eulogy, or when I spoke at her funeral, the one thing I said about her is we all need someone to believe in us, and my mom was that person to believe in others, always, right?
always, my mom was like that too. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it makes such a difference when you have someone that believes in you. It
I agree.
it can, what's the idea that the tongue could, like, you could destroy someone with your words, right? Or build them up with them, right?
And
So,
too many people do that to other people, especially if it don't coincide with what they believe your vision should be.
Yep.
Think about it. If they see a dimmer light on you and you're trying to shine this bright spotlight on yourself that I'm going to be this, I'm going to be that, and they'll poo-poo you real quick. Oh, you crazy, you dreaming. What the heck's wrong with you?
yeah, you
That'll never happen. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
yeah.
you have to, a lot of times people have to divorce where they came from if they're a hindrance to where you want to go. And I made that decision in the early 80s. And I look back and it was probably it was hard because I knew them since I was little, to break away from, but what their future looked like and what I wanted to look like. And it was my wife that, who became my wife. It was my girlfriend at the time.
Mm-hmm.
She said, you told me all your dreams, but they're as far as east as the west. If you keep living like you living, that ain't gonna never happen. And I thank God that it resonated with me.
She gave you something to be or someone to be accountable to too, right?
Myself.
Someone. Mm-hmm.
You got to change your lifestyle. You can't be still doing the things that a lot of people in my neighborhood did and think you're going to get out of there, man. Because, I mean, alcohol and drugs ain't going to get you out of there.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you definitely got to separate yourself and be willing to do something different to achieve something different.
What would you guys say is the biggest crutch in why people aren't as successful as they want to be?
Themselves.
100%.
Yeah.
Even that's the answer for me, even every day for myself too. Like if I'm not where I want to be, or someone asks me, "Oh, how was your day?" I never blame the market. I never blame any situation. I always blame myself. Like it's always a matter of my perspective on how my day was. Right.
Okay.
So
there's a saying, and I'll share it with you guys. The three gods were trying to figure where to hide success.
Mm-hmm.
The first god said, "Let's put it on the highest mountain." The other two gods says, "No, if we put it on the highest mountain, one day man or woman will climb the highest mountain and they'll find it."
Mm-hmm.
The second god says, "Well, let's put it in the deepest part of the ocean." And he says, no, if you put it in the deepest part of the ocean, man or woman one day will swim there and find it. And the third god says, "I got the surest place of all. Let's hide it within themselves because they're sure not to move there."
Yep.
Because people don't. They don't dig, and they blame the market, they blame people, they blame circumstances, they blame their mom, their dad, their grandma, my grandpa. It's their fault that I'm not successful. No, it's your fault. I hate to tell you that. But
yeah, what could I be doing different? Even in relationships, like I've grown a lot with my wife now. In the very beginning of my relationship, it was always kind of whatever she was doing. I was always looking at her, like look at what she's doing. And it got to the point where I realized I got to look at what I'm doing, period. Like I gotta look at how I'm reacting. I got to look how I'm listening. I got to look at what I'm like. It comes down to myself. And it doesn't discount that situations are hard, because I grew up in a very tough situation mentally that kept me down, from being bullied or picked on, being a loner in my younger ages. It wasn't until 7th or 8th grade when I started playing basketball, when all of a sudden people were like giving me some attention or recognized me. Before then, it was like I wasn't alone in my room listening to music, or just, I was to myself. Right.
Yep.
So, but when you grow up in that sense, your worth and your ideas of who you are built at a very young age, right? They say like before even 7 or 8, you kind of have a view of how things are, and that's what creates your mindset at that point. So it doesn't discount that it's a lot of overcoming when it comes to mental health, right? But that still overcoming it comes from you. Like that might mean you have to go a little bit deeper and go through some more trauma and pain and cry a few more tears, or get rid of a few more friends, or make a bigger move in your life. And again, I'm not discounting it, because I still struggle with insecurities and thoughts, and I to this day have to retrain my brain. So it's one of those things, though. The more you recognize it, the more you're aware of your triggers and what takes you away from it, the quicker you can get back on track, right? And not allow yourself to go down that path. Or if you know that friend is not the right friend, you'll find yourself saying no the next time they ask you, right? I don't know if I told this story or not on this, but for whoever hasn't listened to it, you'll hear it for the first time. But I had a client who told me that he realized the people in his life were no good for him. And certain people, he invited them to a big dinner, and he sat them all at the table. He cooked them a world-class meal. Everybody was having the time of their lives. It was like a Thanksgiving dinner. And after he served everyone, after everyone ate, he stood up and he made a whole speech about how he appreciated them in his life up until this point, that this was going to be the last dinner and meal he wants to share with them, but that he's going to cut these people out of his life and that they don't serve the purpose that he's looking for anymore, but that he loves them and he wanted to say goodbye. So savage. I was like, talk about a breakup. He didn't just break up over text or send a letter, or he straight invited them, cooked them dinner, cleaned their feet, and said goodbye forever.
That's gangster. Wow. That's like, I mean, you got to really, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
That's the opposite of what Jesus did.
That he just says peace out. But you know, you don't have to go to that extreme, but it is always important to see if things serve your values. And it's funny because I was thinking about some friends that I know are very successful and I'm still friends with them, but I kind of noticed that, like, not that they left me behind, but I sometimes see, like, wait, am I one of the friends that somebody had to let go as they were growing? And that wasn't the case, but I recognize that they're just growing at a different place at a different time. And I was like, so sometimes you're the friend that gets left behind because someone else is going on a different journey. And, you know, we're not meant to be on everyone's journey, right? And, but when you get someone who's down for you and supports you, speaking of which, I didn't get an invite to your book reading. So,
wow. Oh, that's fair. I didn't actually invite anyone. Wow. I totally, you know what? I'm not going to lie. I was really bad about that. I had Noah send out all my invites, like, because I was so busy. So Noah. You're right. It's because I use everything social media to do that. So I should have been more on top of that. Next one, I will physically invite you.
Excellent. Yeah, you gotta use the good old fashioned.
Now I know. You gotta make a new one.
Your friends.
Yes,
I do.
That's
I know.
Dope.
I need to do better about
again,
that.
though. Anyway, you should do it again anyway if it came out good.
It was a lot of fun.
But
it was a lot of fun. I have cat hair on my face.
Yeah, you should do it again.
But I'll definitely let you know next time.
Hey, let's talk about what I mentioned before, David.
Yeah.
Should we maybe really put a little more energy into trying to figure out subject matters that we want to talk about?
I think that would be helpful on this. Yeah, I definitely think we should.
Because I think we got to come up with every week a theme or something that people will
more relevant
to. Because if they get me with the subject matter, I usually look at the podcast because I spend a lot of my time, if I'm not looking at sports, looking at YouTube and things that interest me, like travel and
cool.
Yeah, so maybe we could figure out what subjects we'd feel comfortable.
Well, we're definitely in the niche of success and like sales, so that's one thing. And then I know that you guys like to talk politics, and I will say the one.
I don't think that politics. I think that's not a warm and fuzzy.
That's fair. But it is also, I will say, refreshing that you guys are like making the money you guys make, and you're not like MAGA people. You know, that's what I appreciate about you guys, because a lot of the people in your guys' class are MAGA people, and that's why my generation's like eat the rich, don't like those people. You know, stuff like that. So
I think that's always there. There's always a divide in all generations. It just tends to repeat itself over and over again. But I think I think our categories and our subjects, and Noah can edit all this out or do whatever, but it's good we talk about it. Maybe we schedule a meeting outside of this, just like we are now, but just talk about it outside of it, to where, for example, when we have different people on, we talk about mental health, right? That's important to us. We talk about success financially, or relationship wise, I think we can cover all avenues of subjects, and it doesn't necessarily always have to come from us. Like we had, was it Jennifer? What was her name last week?
Steph.
Steph. Sorry.
Steph, yeah.
We had Steph on last week, and it's like she had her whole thing about what she does. So I would love for when we have a guest on for us to like kind of interview the guests more. Yeah. And what their specialty is, and kind of relate our stories to that. Like when my friend Ryan comes on, you know, he has music, he's successful in different aspects of life. So yeah, interviewing these people, finding out what they're about. And so I like the interview aspect of having guests on too, which will give us different topics each time too, as we grow. But yeah, it's definitely,
I would say the niche here anyway is 3 generations and 3 different mindsets.
Right, which is 3%. It's good in a way because we see it all from different perspectives. We all do. I mean,
and that's what creates our DNA.
Yes. We all see it differently based on our life experiences and stuff. Yes.
And like the way I've seen these first episodes for us is really good because the 3 of us are building that rapport and just the comfortable factors of being around each other, talking to each other, understanding each other a little bit more, which by episode 100, we'll all have these mics better. We'll have better lighting and rounds.
Yes.
And we'll have better banter and rapport, and stronger opinions will come. And like, I think, so even as I go through this with you guys, and I'm like, okay, we definitely don't have much content that we're not organized with it, right? We're showing up, which is the battle, right? Showing up's half the battle. And we're creating that habit. And now we're getting to the point where we can start building on top of that habit, right? So, so I definitely agree, Philip, getting a little more content. And I did want to try to pick some topics and like things, but then you get working, you go right to, and like it goes out the window. Right?
I'm so busy. I've never been more busy in my life.
and I, last year when I sat at home all year, and we were doing deals, but not that many. Well, now with the dealership, we're running the whole dealership, and we got, 6 employees, and we're selling cars and doing extremely well. So, I get caught up in that, and that's a big change from where I was 4 months ago,
That's right.
And then there's going to be times like on a Wednesday, if I got 2 or 3 deals, I can't leave. I got to stay there because I got to get the money first.
Got to get that check.
Especially when you're in a selling thing like this, like selling something, you can't tell a customer, okay, it's up to 6 o'clock, but I got to go. Well, I want to buy this car tonight. If you tell the wrong person that and you say, I don't want to stay, they might not come back the next day.
And then definitely not coming back.
Yeah, I mean, the heck with that,
Yeah. Well, I think we could, definitely, get to the point where we maybe have somebody get involved that can help us with that type of position.
Who knows production? Because if you really look at the real successful ones, it's on point. It's a team, and they got a whole production, and they're thinking this thing all the way through. Because it's a lot of work to make a successful one.
Yeah. And the good thing is, obviously, we're all not trying to get rich from this tomorrow, but for it to have somewhat more of an impact that we all want to try to provide, right? Like for us to have certain, like a few thousand followers or 50, and people actually listen and get some value out of this and some support, like even from Steph last week or something we've talked about, like that's important to me. I think that's beyond worth any money. But for it to get there, we probably need a little more production,
a little bit more push,
microphones, setups, certain spaces.
You need to invest the money, and that's what I'm thinking. Like I need to get the microphone because the clearer our voices are, the better everything sounds.
It's true.
Production is everything, I think now. And you can do it very inexpensively compared to what it used to cost. Everything was so expensive before,
Well, from my understanding too, like a buddy of mine, actually Ryan, who's going to come on, he wants to come on next week. He was saying that we can there's like AIs that can create clips of our show, just submit it, and it will literally listen to what we talked about and create little clips based on what we just said, like 10-second clip for.
Wow. Sorry, Noah, you're out of a job.
Yeah. Noah, you're still our guy, but Noah, help us find the right next thing to make your job easier. Let's say that.
That's true.
And you utilize both ways, AI, people skills, because I think you still got to have the people skills in there.
Absolutely.
That's me. Maybe I'm old school, and that's the reason I think like that.
A mixture is good.
No, it's like there's probably like some type of virtual assistant too, someone that knows this, that's maybe in a different country or something like that, who would love to be a part of the production and help us.
Actually, now that you say that, Steph was telling me that one of her assistants was from like India or something like that. So maybe I can get I can ask her because she's done fairly successful with her podcast, and
Yeah, it
hers is
looks
also
awesome.
very niche towards women and their feminist ideology. But I will say that it's not a bad idea to outsource to India or like another country, because those countries are so like our money is so much more worth it over there that you can pay them
Amen.
like
Hmm.
minimum wage or less to do a
Right,
job that
exactly.
would
And they
cost
probably
hundreds
do a
here.
great job too.
Yep.
You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? Like
Yep.
that's why all these big corporations do it with India and all these
All the
places.
outsourcing.
Yeah,
Well,
outsourcing because they work for less and they're
Hmm.
very sharp people. So
Yeah.
yeah, my buddy just started. He's very successful. He
Hmm.
he put his resignation letter in. My
Hmm.
buddy's the kind of person that should be completely marketed on social media. He's in
Okay.
perfect shape. Beyond, he's good looking. He's smart. He's
Hmm.
educated. He's determined. Like he doesn't even think about anything else because he's so focused on this. Like
Yeah.
my buddy sent me a message about Michael Jordan, and it was a reporter that was following him around. And the reporter said the one thing about Michael Jordan he noticed is Michael Jordan was always in the moment.
Yeah.
Like when
yeah,
someone would say, "Oh, were you worried you'd miss that shot?" Michael Jordan's like, "Why would I worry about a shot I haven't taken yet? Like,
Hmm.
I'm not even, I'm not, I don't even think that way, right?"
Fair.
So, but my point of that was my buddy, he put his resignation letter in, and he's betting on himself. So he started his own company, doing something
It's
he hasn't
awesome.
done before. But he got a virtual assistant. I'll ask him for the site.
Hmm.
Um, and he has like two people where the assistant's going to be managing these two people, and they're going to be making
Hmm.
calls for him from a different country from like 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. and pay him $11 an hour to be. So he's pretty much spending $1,800 a month to have like a manager and
Hmm.
two salespeople on his team to start
Wow.
generating business for him, which
wow. So what kind of
obviously
business are you going to do?
I'm not as familiar with it,
Okay.
but it's real estate wholesaling.
Hmm.
Oh, okay. Hmm.
Yeah. So he'll be essentially, he kind of gave me a brief idea of it, but he'll look at properties that were on the market that never sold. Maybe they're on the market for 120 days and they fell off. And they'll be following up with those people, kind of giving them a lower offer to get the deal off their hands.
Yeah.
And then they'll turn around and resell that to somebody else.
Oh,
So
Oh,
it's
okay.
like,
interesting.
So,
yeah, it's like real
yeah,
estate wholesaling.
yeah, well,
Hmm.
there's a lot of people doing that right now. And there's one
Yeah.
guy, Alan, I think, the home buyer or something they call him. Yeah, he does that. So,
Hmm.
Yeah.
but guys, I know
So,
you said you got to get off at 8,
I do.
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Hmm.
So
it's like a
let's.
half episode.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. So why don't you do the sign off?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Let's do
well,
it,
I'll do
man.
the sign off and then let's all kind of reconnect, maybe even just on a phone call. We can Zoom like
Yeah.
this and talk again, or maybe all do our own individual research and see what we
Okay.
come up with and try to
I'm
like
done.
just whatever ideas or whatever ways of getting this done. The only thing is obviously it will take some money. Like we're going to have to
Right.
pay
Hmm.
So
someone to
we
do
each
it,
got to just put a little something in,
put a little
and I don't
something
think it'll
in.
be a lot of money to start off. I don't.
No.
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
thinking like 400 or 500 a piece, 300
Hmm.
or something. To start
Yeah.
out,
Hmm.
you can make a dent nowadays. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Mm.
Especially with us having nothing at this point. Like I
Right.
pay
Yeah.
We have
Noah,
nothing. Yes. Yes. Yes.
a little
Yes.
bit, but if we're all putting in a few $100s for something of that level, we'll
Yeah.
go from night to day real quick.
But that's
So
what I'm saying, and get
I dig it.
somebody that's really in this field and maybe they
Yeah.
spaced and knows
I'll
it and
definitely ask.
shed some light. Yeah, so let's
yeah,
look into that before the next week we talk.
yeah,
All right.
Okay. Cool.
absolutely. And Noah, you could cut probably 99% of this out, maybe make
Yeah.
this like a
Maybe
half
leave it.
episode, or
Let's
just
Yeah.
leave
see
it.
how we,
Who cares?
work
Just
together.
Right.
keep it, have
Just a
fun.
good conversation because we just
Yeah.
talked about yeah. So
People need that stuff in their businesses they're starting. So think about it like that.
we
Yeah,
amen.
how we figured it out. We talked about it. We agreed upon something.
This is where it
And
started.
then
This episode 18.
I
Yeah.
think by next week I think he'll be a great guest. He's just a good person. A lot of questions we can ask him and dive into his personal experience. But look at his
Great.
Instagram and look at his stuff, and maybe listen to some of his songs. He has some music on there.
Yeah.
And then that way we can generate some questions for him. He's all about manifesting. He's the kind of person that illuminates others, makes you feel good to be around. But at the same time, he's not trying to. Like he's not. He just is, and that that's pretty cool. So I'm excited to have him on. But the idea for me when we have him on, I'd love to ask him questions and dive deeper into how he created such a strong mindset and discipline, and just his experiences from his decision making in life from New York to California. So yeah, I think you guys will like having him on next week. For everyone listening, thank you. Have a great day and even better tomorrow.